It's the April 2026 show with Lori from Purposely Unplugged. Great to see you, Lori. How's life?
Lovely. Nice to see you too, and happy April. Nice to see the flowers up and
It's
no more
time.
snow.
No more, no more snow. Isn't that the truth? We get to enjoy spring the way it should be. And let's spring in today's topic. Who are we talking about today?
We are talking about Mel Robbins and Let Them. So it's not just the book, Dave. She's got podcasts, it hits Facebook. There's lots of places you can find little clips of the book. And really, we're wrapping up this whole idea about change. Remember, January, we talked about stages of change. And then March, we talked about just how you assist people in your life making changes, really through you. And that's what Mel is really talking about. So it made sense to end with a book and Mel Robbins, Let Them.
I watched a few interviews to try and get a better understanding of who she is and what she's about, and just sort of the premise that she was telling the audience about the book was that it was her son's prom, and her daughter was sort of giving her the dirt, saying, "No, it's his prom. Leave him alone." Right? And that's a pretty important step for as parents. You and I both know we want to sort of help and do that stuff, but we need to step back.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of made me giggle when I read that part of the book. Yes, because there is a prom story if we ever get to it. So there we go. Uh, but in reading the book too, what we don't see sometimes is that she starts the book with let me. We really need to think about how we intentionally show up. We need to think about that in all of these discussions. It's not just let them. I mean, let them has really hit and we know those words, but she begins the book with let me.
Explain then, what does she mean by "let me"?
That we really need to think about our energy. We really need to think about how we're showing up. We need to think about our self awareness, compassion, empowerment, our responsibility. We need to think about that. When we're involved in this change cycle with someone, there's an incredible amount of stress. We should not be taking that stress. One of the statistics in the book is that 7 out of 10 people live with chronic stress. And Dave, if someone reading this book can shift away from worrying about someone else, shifting my energy so that this doesn't stress me, then I think that's really an important piece to start the book with. And she did. So I'm glad I read that at the beginning of the book.
Yeah, all right, that brings up a lot of questions because I think as a parent, if you looked at it as a child, you have a lot of responsibility. So the "let me" thing to me might not work so well. You know what I mean? It's like, no, no, that's I got to help this person. This is what I do, right? Or this is what I need to do. So is there, where's the line there, right? A little bit, like, does it get a little blurry?
It might get blurry, but I think in talking about kids, it's really different than adults too. So
Yeah,
with
good point.
kids, if we can let them make as many choices as possible to feel empowered, to feel that they're making those choices, then that's a good thing. But as parents, I mean, we obviously need to worry about nutrition and safety and all those big things. I mean, it doesn't
The
negate that.
mental health nowadays, right?
Mental
Yeah.
health, you're right. It doesn't negate that. But with kids, in my opinion, it's letting them have as much responsibility as possible. And actually, she ends the book with this too. So we'll get there in a minute. But with adults, it's let adults be adults. I don't know how many times in this book she says the same thing. Let adults be adults. Once someone's 18, once they're making those choices for themselves, we have to step back, let them be in their space, and we can only provide an environment that's safe for them and an environment that offers change. You're going to find today, I'm going to talk about a couple page numbers. So when
Okay.
we do that, people, if you're picking the book off the shelf, you can see the page that I pulled something from as we talk today.
It's interesting too because, um, I get it. I understand it, but I guess maybe that's part of who I am, not letting that go. You know what I mean? Like I would like to think that, even though my kids are adults, there's still that piece of me that's sort of, okay, keep an eye on that, right? They're going to do this. But I think that's a natural thing, not so much a controlling thing, is more suggesting. I'm going to use that word, suggesting that maybe this is an alternative to what you're thinking.
Well, perfect, perfect segue. So I'm going to go to the end of the book first, and then I'll come back and answer what you just were kind of saying. So at the end of the book, it's actually page 145, where she's saying we can provide an environment for change, We have to sit with them through their natural consequences. So the more we try to suggest, I mean, you said that nicely, the more we try to suggest, we could actually be instilling a win lose situation where then it becomes about control, it becomes about power. And once we cross that line, then that's what she's talking about. We should avoid those things as much as possible. And that is the center of the book. So as you read the whole book, Dave, there's parts of this book that might kind of make you really think about that and not feel so comfortable.
Oh, great. Um, but I think you have to be comfortable with who you are too, as the person that's suggesting, if I may. I think you gotta be comfortable in your own shoes to make that suggestion or have the wherewithal to understand that you need to make that suggestion. I don't think you can just not make the suggestion because then I think you're doing just as much harm as you are good.
Mhm. You're right. And I know there's lots of things linked in here and there's lots of different ways to approach it. The way she's approaching it, though, is that providing that environment, providing that change, helping someone get to a point where they're making the decision to make a change, that's really the key. Which, whether the words suggest, whatever words we want to use here, but providing, maybe we're mentors, maybe we just
Yeah,
provide that
exactly.
space.
I think too, I always think back to the parent that was trying to be the kid's best friend. You know what I mean? And I'm like, "No, I'm their parent. I can't be their best friend. I gotta be their parent first." So I think that's maybe where I don't say the line gets confused or blurred, but that responsibility is pretty important to me, right? Even as they're older, but I do understand that for sure you have to fail sometimes to understand and to grow. I think
Right.
it's maybe the guardrails you put on the other side of that to make sure that, it's not gonna go totally off the rails. You're making sure that there's that, that safety line still there, I guess, is what I'm reaching for.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now that's a chapter early on, chapter 2 or 3 is about that, and then the end of the book definitely lands there as well, for sure.
Okay.
Page 237, though, she talks about rock bottom. That other person needs to hit rock bottom, and we need to hit our rock bottom where we know we've tried everything. We have influenced, we have mentored, but then there's a time where we need to step back as well and let that person come to their change on their terms. And so it is all built in the book. She's actually done a really good job of highlighting all of these discussions.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, the rock bottom, yeah, I think we've been there as grown-ups in our life. We've had those moments where it's like you're looking for a line, right? You're looking for some help. But I think that's important too, that if the other person in this conversation hits rock bottom, that line they know that line's still there a little bit, if they need to talk to somebody or try and figure out how to solve this problem, right? That door's open.
Hmm. So I'm going to jump back to the middle of the book where she's talking about when we pressure someone, we create tension, resentment, distance, a power struggle. That's 191. That person needs to feel in control of their life. And when we pressure someone, they're actually going to resist. So it's not
Oh, for
helpful
sure.
at
Yeah.
all. So I'm going to jump to 201. The people that you love only feel safe when they feel in control of their own life. Then 202, acceptance of another person as they are is the foundation of healthy and loving relationships. When someone feels that you accept them as they are, they feel safe with you.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I understand that totally. I do because I think in relationships, be it your partner, your kids, whatever, accepting who they are or what their beliefs are, I always look at it this way. If somebody says to me, "Well, I'm transgender." I'm like, "Cool, good for you. You be you." Right? Because that's their choice. I'm not making that choice for them. I don't get that. I don't That's not my role. That's theirs. And again, if this person I'm comfortable with this person, they're my friend. That's the bottom line is that I don't really give a care what they are, just as long as they're a good person. So I think that aspect of it, yeah, I can really relate to. I don't want people to feel they have to tell me. Um, I don't want that pressure put on them, that stress. I need to tell you I'm this. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's sometimes a thing where both sides get caught up in it, and it's like, if you're a good person, you're a good person. It doesn't matter what you are, just as long as you're a good person.
Well, and
Is
you're
that a
creating
little bit of what she's looking for?
well, yeah, and that's exactly it. You're creating safety because it doesn't matter to you what
No, I
anyone
could
identifies or needs to tell you.
right,
I guess that's part of the whole therapeutic piece too. Clients are telling me things they've never told anyone before. If it's an environment of safety, then that's what matters.
right.
So what she's talking
It's not
about,
judgment.
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. As soon as there's that judgment, then there's also going to be that resistance. Absolutely. And in the middle of the book as well, she does a really good job of saying that the only person you can control is you. You are responsible for your
Yep.
own responses, how you show up. And that's what you just said, Dave. I show up for people and it doesn't matter what they have to tell me. I show up for people. That's actually 205. The only person you control is you. The only behavior change that you can control is your own. And that's where your power is. It's really how you show up for other people. And that's really woven through many of the chapters in Let Them.
And that kinda goes back to let them, doesn't it? So I think that, maybe that's coming full circle. And I think that in today's society, that's needed more than ever because seems to be something that's getting lost, on what people's beliefs are, what they choose. And I think that's something, again, I'll repeat it, that's something that we need to get back to because no, I don't get to control you, you don't get to control me. If we're offering each other a safe place to have those conversations, it's great without judgment. That's good. That I totally, that I think we need more of that, obviously.
Yeah. And she also just makes a really strong statement that we have to have our own happiness, our own fulfillment, our own joy. We have to be in the right place to
Oh,
create that environment for someone
right.
else and not to create a win-lose kind of situation. So that win-lose is 202, and that's interesting because so much when I'm working with clients, I talk about win-lose, shifting it to a win-win so that in any relationship there can be positive change. So I absolutely love 202 where she talks about that.
The aspect too that people always try and I've seen this before is where somebody will try and lay it on you, their problems. And, it's like you said, that's not your responsibility. And I think that's where you get yourself in trouble because you feel like you take a little bit of ownership somehow. And I don't understand that. You're like, oh, I should probably help this person. But again, they're putting it on you and it's their problem, not yours.
That's right. And that is one of the final chapters that they have to come to their rock bottom. They need
Right.
to identify, they need to take responsibility. All we can do is walk alongside when someone's going through those stages of change, which brings us back to January stages of change. I'm
Yeah.
so glad we did this piece. I really appreciate that we did this.
It's interesting because, like I said, watching her videos and then sort of understanding the book a bit better, I saw a lot of parallels to the stuff like you pointed out that we have talked about. But I do think too that the let them. I do find a place for that in my life for sure. At the same time, you're as an individual who cares a lot about a lot of people, and you put that out there. It's kind of hard to do that too, right? Because you do want to help that person and you do want to make, a positive impact on what maybe their goals are or how their lives turn. You know what I mean? You don't want, we have this innate ability where we suffer this emotional damage. We see that somebody else has it and we feel it and we want to help it. Right. And that could be misconstrued too, because then you can become judgmental. It's like, well, just get out of that relationship. Right. Like then we become that.
Exactly. And actually, throughout the whole book, she talks about scenarios like that. So if someone has this on their shelf and they haven't pulled it off yet, pull it off the shelf. And I appreciate it. And I've talked about it so much with clients because lots of times clients will come to me with scenarios and I land in this place that the only thing you can do is shift your response in
Yeah.
this situation.
We gotta plug you again because I don't think here we are just we're diving into this book, giving Mel Robbins a lot of, wow, bluster, but at the same time, talk about who you are and where you work and what you do.
Purposefully Unplugged, Southern Ontario. I have an office in Brantford, but I also have an off grid location in Scotland. I work with all kinds of folks, a lot of trauma primarily, but any kind of counseling situation. And folks can always reach me by phone, 226-934-7425.
And what's your degree in, please?
Masters of Arts Counseling, Psychology.
Counseling, psychology, folks. There you
Yeah.
go. And, you and I have been hanging out for a few years doing these, and it's kinda interesting. We know each other pretty well, so we know what questions that we can ask each other and sort of see. And I wanna just thank you too because it's been a huge learning curve both ways, I think. I hope I provided you with some insight, and I know that you have for me because some of the books that you've recommended and some of the things you share gives me cause to think. And I think anybody in your situation, allowing people to have those moments to
Mhm.
try and understand themselves is critical.
Mhm.
So thanks.
You are very welcome, and thank you, Dave.
Well, sunshine, have a great day and stay out of trouble.
Okay, take care.